These 3 shoes all have a wider toe box, but each one is built for different types of foot shapes, different types of cushioning, and different types of activities. I've tested over 120 shoes this year, so this is what you need to know about wide toe box trail shoes. When it comes to cushioning, we've got the Topo MTN Racer 4, which has one of the most balanced and responsive cushioning of all the wide toe box shoes. So it has the zip foam cushioning alongside the FKT insole, which has TPU beads that drain faster, so when it gets wet it doesn't stay as boggy underneath your foot, and it's got a really quick transition from the back to the front of the shoe, with 33 mils of cushion in the rear foot, 28 in the forefoot, giving you a 5 mil drop. In contrast to that, in the Ultra Outroad 3, you've got a 27 mil cushioning underneath your foot with no difference in height from the back to the front. So it's a zero drop shoe, not barefoot because you have cushioning underneath your foot, but the Ego cushioning within the Ultra range is really firm, much firmer and less responsive than what we get in the Topo. And that's also influenced by what's underneath the shoe, which we'll touch on later. But for the moment, if you're thinking about a firmer ride with a zero drop, the Outroad 3 is an excellent option. Then finally, we have a monster of the shoe in the Salomon XA Pro 3D version 9. So it has 28 mils of cushion in the rear foot, 17 in the forefoot, giving you an 11 mil drop, which is relatively rare. It's got the firmest of all 3 cushioning underneath your foot, and it feels quite solid, quite structured, and it's definitely not as responsive as what we see in the Topo. And when we think about the fit in these shoes, well, we've got some unique fits overall. We've got a generally wide shoe from the heel up to the forefoot in the Salomon, and it comes in a wide version as well. It's got a great lockdown on top with the speed laces. In contrast to that, we've got an anatomical toe box in the Ultra Outroad 3, so that's where it really widens in the forefoot to allow your toes to splay, which is what all shoes should be like in our opinion. It's got a moderate level of lockdown in the midfoot and the heel, and that's probably something that we feel that could improve on, because if you're changing direction at speed, you're just not getting that lockdown that you might like. However, if you're using it as a walking or hiking shoe, the lockdown is adequate and you got all that space in the toe box. Then we've got one of the best fitted shoes in the market in our opinion in the Topo, so you've got a great lockdown on the heel and the midfoot, and one of the best wide toe boxes on the market. So excellent fit if you're looking for a wide toe box shoe. There are some downsides to this shoe which we'll touch on, and if you have a wider foot throughout your whole length of your foot, you might not enjoy the snugness in the midfoot and the heel, and you might actually prefer what you can find in the Ultra. And when we think about what's underneath the shoe in terms of stability and traction, well, we've got 5mm lugs in the Topo alongside a Vibram Mega Grip. So if you're thinking about deep mud, technical terrains, wet rock, it's got you covered on all those aspects. Because of the depth of the lugs, not as good on roads, it's not going to feel as comfortable underfoot, and you're going to wear down those lugs quickly. The Outroad 3, we've got 1.5mm lugs, so this is the complete opposite. They're much broader underneath your foot. This is built for road to trail, so if you're on gravel paths, asphalt, or going onto light trails or grass, this is where this shoe shines. So it's got excellent traction for that. Deep mud, it's not ideal, you're going to get some slippage underneath your foot. And then finally, on the Salomon, you've got great stability features in big sidewalls on the outside and the inside of the heel, and then you've got 3mm lugs underneath the shoe, which gives you great traction in some light mud, in some grass, on some moderately technical terrains. Because of the broad nature of the shoe, it's not as nimble as the other 2 options, but it does give you great ground contact and a great stable feel, especially by the fact that it's got really good torsional stability. It's really bulletproof as a shoe. Moving on to what these shoes are best for, if we think about the Salomon, first of all, personally, while it's advertised as a running shoe, I think it's really a hiking shoe. The 11mm drop would be really helpful for when you're trekking, when you're hiking, if you're carrying heavier weights. If you think about carrying heavy weights and needing some extra stability moving downhill or changing direction, this is going to keep your foot planted inside the shoe. Great lockdown and a wide fit throughout the whole shoe. So more of a hiking shoe in this. Got a hybrid in the Outroad 3, so if you want a shoe that you can use on the road, on the gravel, on the trails, on grassy paths, if you're doing some light fell running, this is an excellent option for you. Just a caveat of it being a zero drop. If you're not used to that, you need to gradually introduce it. And then finally with the Topo, it is really a more of a performance-based shoe, moving towards moderate to long distance running, not necessarily ultra distance because it doesn't have as much cushion as some other shoes. However, it has has adequate padding for most distances that the majority of the population will do. Excellent traction for technical trails, for technical descents, for deep mud. Great on wet rock, as we mentioned, but also not ideal as a road running shoe. And personally, our favorite, and you can check it out in the description below if you want to see the latest prices on Amazon. If you have any questions on them, drop in the comment section below.